Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm Paradoxic, and we are back with a new episode. What I believe is the penultimate episode of Marvel's WandaVision. This is episode 8. I believe the ninth one is the final one. So yeah, it's been a crazy journey. Crazy journey is pretty much how they promoted it, and yet it still blew us all away. I'd like to think. Um, it's just been one whirlwind of an episode after another, one tank of an episode of awesomeness and mystery and crazy superpowers just coming at us all at once, and it's done exactly what Disney has hoped. It's very much explored the nature of Wanda and Vision's characters, and especially Wanda's character as well. Better, I personally think better than the movies did. I think the movies did it one way, and the Disney Plus series is now doing it unarguably more fleshed out way and in like a much more enjoyable way. So it's been great. It's been absolutely great. So I can't wait to get into this one and see what it's all about. But last time on episode 7 of WandaVision, we had Agatha all along. The song that didn't go away, the song that hit trending on social media and I believe on Spotify too. The song that revealed the true nature of of Agnes, the nosy neighbor, played by the amazing, the spectacular, the glorious Catherine Hahn. So she is Agatha Harkness. She revealed herself as Agatha Harkness, and in the Agatha All Along song, she actually revealed that she'd been manipulating things from the beginning. She brought Pietro in. She's the reason Pietro's there. She was manipulating that too to draw out Wanda's emotions um and everything else. So she's been manipulating things from the beginning, and yeah, there's been because of who her character is, there is all the more speculation that Mephisto is all the more involved in this as the primary antagonist, and that he is actually going to be introduced into this story somewhere or another. I think people have been saying that he like there was like a zoom in shot in the last episode of like a fly on the curtains. I didn't think much of it. I thought it was like a creepy shot of like how maybe Agatha has insects and bugs and shit in her house and doesn't really bother to clean them out. But apparently in the comics, Mephisto's initial introduction, or at least his first introduction, but yeah, his first introduction was as a fly on a wall. So apparently he has the ability to actually shapeshift. I think possibly, and he shows up as a fly. And also, I think that shot that zoomed in shot of the fly on the curtain may well have been Mephisto. So I don't know if that's the way they're going with this, and if we're just gonna get like a fly buzzing around being annoying and being like, yeah, I'm Mephisto now, you're in trouble now, or if they're actually gonna get like an actual person to come in and play him. I think that is an act that I'm all the more curious to see who they choose to play Mephisto, because there's been no fan cast whatsoever, but other roles and other characters have got an infinite amount of fan casts. So I think it's interesting to see who they actually might pick to play Mephisto and how they might actually draw his character into this. But again, I think I'm still going to stick by my theory that we're going to get a Thanos-style reveal where it's like a post-credit for the final episode, which is the next episode, and it's going to show Mephisto in his lair, in his realm, in his dominion, in his kind of Hellfire realm, just being like, oh, Agatha's failed, so now I have to try and take on Wanda and Doctor Strange and everyone else myself. So yeah, but it's been going great. So we had Agatha all along, and yeah, honestly, the memes from Agatha all along, honestly, I love it. I love it too much to hate it. I love it too much to hate it, and it just shows the power of weekly releases. It shows the power of weekly releases, and the kind of the length some people will go to try and draw humor from such a depressing show. So, or at least like a show with like some kind of depressing themes. But honestly, Catherine Hahn can do no wrong. She can do no wrong. She's been nailing it as Agnes so far, and now this Agatha reveal just shows what her range is. And she, again, she plays Marvel villains really well. So cannot wait to see what her character does going forward. I think she actually has powers of her own. She has like more of like a purpley aesthetic to her powers, and yet like the end of the episode actually showed her using her powers to take over Wanda's mind, and her magic kind of hexed Wanda's eyes. So I think now Wanda might be under her control, or she might try and kind of put her under like a mind control or something like that. So now Wanda gets a taste of her own abilities in some way. But yeah, Agatha Harkness, awesomeness, pure awesomeness. So we had Agatha. Monica re-entered the Hex. She actually caught on to some military buddies who actually still had some loyalty, more so to her mother than to Tyler Hayward. So I think they were also connected to S.W.O.R.D. because they actually managed to pick her up like a space rover from S.W.O.R.D. So that was something that they hoped would be strong enough to get Monica back through the hex and back into that kind of warped world. But the rover did not make half of the rover made it through, and in doing so, half of it changed into like a regular kind of truck, and the other half stayed the same. So then Monica figured that she could get through, and that she would try and get through. So she did. She pushed her way through, and that was a really cool scene, a really awesome scene, very emotionally charged, and just hearing the quotes from Captain Marvel, was amazing for us as audience members, and also for Monica's character, just, hearing those words from her past, hearing words of motivation, finally pushing through. And in doing so, that was the third time. That was the third time that she had actually passed through the walls of the Hex, and as a result, her cells had mutated even more, and she gained powers. She got like nice glowy blue eyes, so she has she has even prettier eyes now. But she got powers, and she can view, I think, like energy, or she can view, I think, like electrical energy passing through cables, and she can view like the magnetic spectrum of different things. And I think some people have been calling her Photon, like her actual captain name, and even her mother's name before, like Photon, and others are calling her Spectrum. So I think Spectrum might be more maybe accurate, because if she can actually see like a spectrum of different energies that exist in life and how they kind of interact, and maybe she can control them. We haven't seen her using her powers yet. That will come very soon, I'm sure. I think, my theory on that front is that, we'll see her using her powers alongside Wanda's, and they'll both tag team to try and take on Agatha in the end. But that is all in due time. That is all in due time. But she has powers now, and she even somewhat stood her ground against Wanda. She actually was kind of let go of like a 50-foot kind of 50-foot, like a 5-10 foot kind of air hold, and then she actually did like a superhero landing, like landing swiftly on her knees and her hands and everything. So that was really cool. But yeah, Monica has powers now. Monica Rambeau is powerful as all hell, and no one can mess with her anymore. And you know what? Now I want to see her using her own powers to blast Tyler across the field, and just like smashing him into a van or something. That would be really satisfying to see. Because he's so against powered people, and now half of his crew are gonna end up having powers, having been taken in by the Hex. But I don't know. I guess we will see where that leads. But Monica has powers. Monica most definitely has powers. And yeah, we didn't see Pietro until the very end. He caught we saw him in a post-credit scene with Monica. He caught Monica snooping around Agatha's house, and actually having unlocked the basement that Agatha and Wanda were in. So he caught her, but we didn't really see where it went from there. So I guess we'll see going in now. But Pietro was there, and yeah, I think the aerospace engineer. I think that is the one. Kind of reference we've left to see, kind of unearthed, because I think she made two different references, one about an aerospace engineer that could help, and another thing about a group of people who could help her get back into the Hex. Like, those two things, as far as I remember, were unrelated, and the people who could get her back into the Hex has now happened. We've actually met them. They were the military group with the space rover. So the aerospace engineer, I think it's pretty kind of solid, and it's like, it's not just, I think it's not just like a fan theory thing, but it's also it's plausible that it could very well be Reed Richards, given that he is like the aerospace engineer. Like he takes his team, he takes the Fantastic Four out into space, and they all get infected with the cosmic radiation and everything. So it makes sense that it's him, but whether or not we see him, or whether we just hear from him, like a voice on a telephone, or like just him signing off on like an email without being able to be there, is more of a question. So that is my theory, that we're actually not going to see him yet, but he's going to like end up signing off on like an email or a text or something like that. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. But yeah, again, this show has been so good from start to finish, and I think it's not in like 2, maybe 3 weeks time we actually get the Falcon and the Winter Soldier 2. So Disney are nailing it. This year, and Loki has been confirmed for June 11th. I think it is June 11th. So it's really not that long left to go. Really, just like a year full of Marvel. Unlike last year, we had such like minimal Marvel content, and now we get a year full of Marvel again. So it's good. It's good stuff. So hopefully going forward we can actually see more awesomeness, and I'm curious, and I think this being the penultimate episode, I can definitely see there being some kind of cliffhanger that just pisses everyone off, but then again, it proves why the weekly releases are so powerful. It proves why those releases are so powerful, so I can't wait to get into this and see what's what, so hopefully we can enjoy this insane ride together. But yeah, that is all I have for episode 7, for the last episode of WandaVision, so on to episode 8. As always, this will be the highlight reel of reaction, so if you guys want to catch the full, unedited, full-length version of my reaction to this episode, that one will be over on Patreon, so you can go check that out over there. But yeah, on to WandaVision, Season 1, Episode 8. Let's go. Salem. Oh, the Salem Witch Trials. Is this Salem Witch Trials? Oh, is this an execution? No, this can't be an execution. They're witches.
Are you a witch?
They are witches. I think these have to be witches.
Yet you have betrayed your coven.
Oh. So it's a different kind of execution. Like a punishment.
I have not. You stole knowledge above your age and station.
Ah.
You practiced the darkest of magic.
Oh, damn. Oh, Jesus. Whoa. Oh, that's crafty. That's very crafty. That's very witchcrafty. Oh, she's gonna drain her mother too. She's gonna drain her mother too. Jesus. Damn. So what coven were they... Is this a coven dedicated to Mephisto? Is this how they try and introduce him?
She does look shocked to meet the real us, doesn't she?
Is the bunny Mephisto? Is that an evil bunny? That would be a first.
That's adorable.
Uh-oh.
My thoughts are not available to you, Toots.
Where are they?
She has no powers? Oh, what she has... Did she drain her too? No, she did not drain
Magic's
Wanda.
no good here.
Oh. Oh.
Real brother's body is on another continent.
Yeah, so another
Not
universe.
to mention full of holes.
So how did she get his body then? Where did she get it from? She gonna confirm it's another universe? Oh, the bunny is evil. The bunny is evil. Oh, her hair, that's a classic witch trick. Hair, frog's eyes, pig's blood, and you have a whole potion. Oh. That's her mama. Oh. Mama and Papa. Bewitched, yeah, love Lucy Malcolm in the middle. She grew up on American sitcoms.
You're on.
Well, she has to actually interact? Oh, do we get Little Wanda? Did we get Little Wanda? Oh, Little Wanda.
Now we can begin.
This episode is going to make me cry, isn't it? This episode is actually going to make me cry.
My peak isn't here.
Are we going to have to watch her parents die too at this from like the Stark missile? Oh, it's going to happen, isn't it? We're going to have to watch them die. Oh! Oh, okay, that happened quicker than I thought. That happened a lot quicker than I was expecting. Oh boy, okay, that got me. That got me. That fucking well got me. Oh, Stark Industries. Yeah, the one with Stark, yeah.
Wanda, tune in.
Oh, crap, and the TV, her parents didn't survive, but that TV is still on. Her parents didn't survive, but the TV still has power. That is just logic beyond any normal comprehension.
It was all a bad dream.
Oh,
None of it was real.
oh, you sweet summer child.
Your reaction to the bombing of your civilian apartment building and the murder of your parents was to join an anti-freedom terrorist organization.
We wanted to change the world.
How did Hydra convince them to join them? 'Cause surely they would have still heard of Hydra and known about how bad they were. Like, they were a literal Nazi organization. So how... What exactly did they tell them? Whoa. Okay. Is she doing that already, or... Is it just gravitating towards her? Whoa! Okay, that was cool. That was really, really cool. So she caught like a glimpse of her future, of her identity as the Scarlet Witch.
So, little orphan Wanda got up close and personal with an Infinity Stone that amplified what otherwise would have died on the vine.
So she had abilities already, but the Infinity Stones actually ignited them.
I apologize. I don't mean to intrude.
You don't?
Well, I suppose, yes, I did intend to come in here.
And now?
It's good to see something of their relationship that we didn't really see in Age of Ultron in Civil War. Yeah. So they just hung out and watched Malcolm in the Middle. Yeah. Oh.
It's just like this wave washing over me again and again. It knocks me down, and when I try to stand up, it just comes for me again. It's just gonna drown me.
Because it can't all be sorrow, can it? I've never experienced loss because I've never had a loved one to lose. But what is grief? If not love, persevering.
That's a really sweet sentiment, yeah. And grief shows that you cared, that you had happy memories, that you actually lived a life together, in some sense.
Yes, it was very funny, wasn't it?
Well, okay, so this is sweet. This is sweet. This is actually sweet.
He deserves a funeral, at least.
She wanted to give him a funeral.
I deserve it.
Yeah, she's still here.
He sees her on the cameras. So Hayward actually... She didn't break in then.
One moment. I have to buzz you in.
I got it. Thanks.
Please, just come with me.
Okay, this makes me feel even fishier about Tyler. Oh, this is where they're dissecting him. Oh, Jesus.
We're dismantling the most sophisticated sentient weapon ever made.
Vision's not a weapon.
You can't do this.
Not everyone has the kind of power that could bring their soulmate back online. Forgive me. Back to life.
No, I can't do that. It's
He wanted her to
not
do
why
it.
I'm here.
Well, that's just it, Wanda. He isn't yours.
Oh, Christ, he's goading her. He is goading her right into it. Oh, jeez.
I can't feel you.
First they shoot dead Vision, then baby Vision, now a headless Vision. Now just Vision's head. Oh, God. How many different forms of disturbing visions are they going to make us see? So she never stole his body. She never took his body. To grow old in, a property deed. She owns a property. Wanda Maximoff and the Vision. Oh my God. They actually have a property deed. They own a property together. Oh, jeez. Oh, boy. Oh, my God. Wow. And then it expanded. Oh, and then it expanded. And she created Vision. She literally used her powers to create Vision. So the real Vision is still at Sword.
Wanda. Welcome home. Should we stay in tonight?
The real one is still at Sword, so why does Hayward care about this then? The real one is still at Sword. What does Hayward really want? Oh. Okay, Agatha. Oh. Okay, that's an awesome. That's an awesome get up, but don't hurt the kids.
It's okay.
Don't hurt the kids. Come on, Agnes, you got what you wanted. Don't hurt the kids. That costume is so good. I'm sorry, I have to say that get up is so good.
This is chaos magic, Wanda.
Chaos magic.
And that makes you the Scarlet Witch.
She said it. She said it. Don't you dare. Don't you. They're smart. Disney is smart. They didn't even have a stand by. They didn't even have a please stand by. They're smart. They're learning. They know what fans hate now, and that makes them dangerous. Is there a post-credit for this one? There is a post-credit. Okay, I'm gonna wait this out. Okay, I saw a glimpse of some post-credit stuff, so I'm gonna wait it out. But holy crap. This episode is this episode is incredible. This episode was beyond incredible. Oh boy. Oh boy. They finally said it. She's the Scarlet Witch. She's the Scarlet Witch. Okay, I need to write that down. They finally said it. Marvel were like, yeah, we have the rights now. We have the rights. So guess what Wanda Maximoff is? She's the Scarlet freaking Witch. She's the Scarlet Witch, the wielder of chaos magic.
Tried every type of power supply under the sun, when all we needed was a little energy directly from the source.
Vision? Vision's body? He's trying to power Vision. He's trying to power Vision up again. They've actually put Vision back together. Whoa. They brought Vision back online. They have what they want. They've got Vision back online. I mean, okay, you know what? I'm gonna start this off by saying I know a lot of people would like to say that, you know, oh, the MCU can do no wrong. Kevin Feige can do no wrong. These writers can do no wrong. But I think it needs to be established. It needs to be said. It needs to be carved into stone or like even carved into like one of those metal plaques you get on the Hollywood Walk of Stars or Fame or whatever the fuck it's called, like the stars you get in the ground. It needs to be carved into one of those and time-stamped and, you know, carbonated, whatever, that Catherine Hahn and Elizabeth Olsen can do no wrong. These women, like, they carried this episode. Elizabeth Olsen has been carrying this show since it was pretty much announced, right? Catherine Hahn, she is just beyond incredible. She's beyond powerful, you know? So, like, this episode, just, my good gracious me. Oh, Jesus, like, you know, like, usually penultimate episodes do give you a lot to deal with and a lot to, you know, theorize on for the next one. But this episode, my god, this so much, like, this is usually how I feel after watching an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is usually how I feel after that. Like, this just, you know, this just gave me the amount of energy, or like this drained me the way like an energetic episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. usually does. But damn, this has, I think, you know, it's weird because I feel like this episode, like, in terms of story and development and characterization, this episode has nothing on what we've gotten from Wanda in the MCU, but at the same time, it wouldn't be possible without what we have in the MCU. Like, that's the whole point of it. Like, you know, especially in terms of the visualization of her past, like, that alone as well, that gives me Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. vibes too. And I might be kind of, like, you know, kind of unique in that on that end, but it's like, it's how I feel watching stories come to life on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where, like, they actually talk about things. So, like, they talk about characters or they talk about events, and for a while, they make you visualize it and think about how things might have gone down, and then eventually, like, somewhere down the line, they actually then give you the episode, they actually then give you that kind of story, that kind of visualization, they actually let you see, okay, so we've given you time to think about how it would have gone down, now see how it went down, and just how much more brutal or how much more dramatic it actually was. So with this, it's like we get all of that too. Like, this episode is just a trip down Wanda's traumatic memory lane. This is just this is essentially just a trip down trauma lane, just down trauma avenue, you know, just pop past the corner of memory lane and down trauma avenue. That's all this is. But damn, I have written so much down. I have to make sure not to confuse my post-episode speculation with my pre-episode speculation. I need to get a bigger notebook, but I've only got like a few pages left in this one, so it's like I'd rather not waste the paper. But damn, so good. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, again, Elizabeth Olsen and Catherine Hahn, they just all the chef's kisses, just damn, they know how to actually execute a story. They know how to play characters. They know how to make you feel for characters. They know how to actually, you know, draw you in and then just let you go from like 100,000 feet in the air. But damn, this episode was beyond insane. Just so much information, so much truth as well. So much truth is revealed. So Yeah, so let's start with Agatha. Agatha, the opening was Agatha's backstory. The opening was Agatha. So yeah, they I think they kind of pulled a, like at least for me, like they actually pulled a little bit of a red herring. That like they showed Agatha being. I mean, I figured because of the flaming torch and the hood and it being in the woods, I figured okay, this might have been a while back, like a few centuries at least, and then showing Agatha like a woman being dragged away by people in hoods and hooded figures, I figured okay, this has like. Is this going to be like the witch trials? And then it actually said Salem, Massachusetts, and it's like, oh, the Salem witch trials, Salem witch trials. So I was like, okay, but then this isn't that. This isn't the witch trials. This is actually a coven executing a witch for what they believe is kind of theft of their magic and the overuse and the misuse of magic too. Like apparently she stole magic and spells and kind of charms above her station, above her kind of granted power levels, and she misused dark magic as well. So even witches have rules. Even witches, like in like the Salem witch hunters, they just discriminate freely against anyone who they suspect of being a witch. But even the witches are like, okay, you can be one of us, you can practice magic so long as you follow our rules and you don't go out of your way to misuse magic or use magic out of your trained power levels. So yeah, that was like a little kind of like an Uno reverse. Like, oh, the witches even punish their own. And I think culturally speaking, that kind of makes sense. Like, okay, so like witches. Maybe it's like, okay, well, we don't want them to see us as evil. Like, they already hate us, but we don't want to give them more ammo and more reason to want to persecute us or want to try and execute us. So don't give them reasons to by misusing magic or overusing dark magic or anything like that. So it's like, oh, if you like our rules are there for our safety, for our kind of guaranteed continued existence, but if you start using this and give them more kind of evidence that we're really evil and that we're out to destroy the world and stuff like that, then then we can't continue to exist. I think that kind of twist makes sense, and it shows that Agatha goes way back too. Agatha, that I'm pretty sure they actually de-aged Catherine Hahn for that too, which worked really well. I think Marvel have done a very good job so far of actually successfully de-aging their actors for for various time periods. So that's it worked. So but then Agatha actually fought back. She actually, so all the witches started firing their kind of energy beams at her, but then she turned the tables and she started draining them of their power and their life. So she actually turned. So I mean, to begin with, the energy being fired at her was blue coming from the witches, but then she turned the tables and actually, instead of being fired with energy, she actually started to suck the energy in, and it turned purple, signifying her own power. And then she started to absorb the power and the life, pretty much the life of the witches around her, and then even her mother, she even turned the tables on her mother, and that was actually, that surprised me too, that it was actually her mother willing to sacrifice her daughter, and willing to punish her for what she did. So she turned the tables, she killed all of them, she killed all the witches and took their power and enhanced her own power and took one of the medallion things. I don't know if that was like a significant object, but that is very significant history to Agatha. She comes from way back then, and she has power of her own. So that was a very, very well done kind of backstory for Agatha. So yeah, and I think that also makes me think like witches exist in the MCU, like magic exists in the MCU, and I think I think that also definitely changes the way that we see Wanda's power too. Because again, like Wanda was introduced when Fox was still a thing, when Fox was still kind of grasping onto what few rights they had on Marvel characters and Marvel cinematic content. So, like saying that Wanda was a Scarlet Witch, or I mean, they could say it in the promos, like they actually had the title cards being like Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, but they never actually referred to the characters as anything other than Wanda or anything like that. So, calling her a witch, calling her the Scarlet Witch, and stuff like that, and saying that she had magic like Scarlet Witch would in the comics. I think that stuff was very, very kind of risky. So I think they had to rely on the fact that it's like she makes you hallucinate things, and she makes you kind of see things and all these other stuff, and even the way Maria Hill described them in Age of Ultron, being like he's fast and she's weird, like he's faster than you can actually comprehend, and she's makes you see things and stuff like that. So I think it's also fair to say like them being introduced that way too, like they were at pretty much the kind of beginning of their powers too. Like it was soon after they were experimented on, and they were like, they knew how to handle it, but they didn't actually know the full extent of their powers, ergo why Pietro still wasn't quick enough to actually dodge the bullets or anything like that. So her her power levels back then were very simplistic with like hex bolts and hallucinations and stuff like that. So yeah, but now she's grown. Our girl has gone through some growth. She's grown and she's enhanced her powers and she's grown even more. So I think now with Marvel having everything they need to execute a comic accurate story and an actual an actual enjoyable story, they can happily go forth and say, yeah, she's magical. She is magical. She has magical powers. Like magic exists in the MCU. So yeah. But yeah. So then so that too. I think that actually shows how how much further they're going, because I mean we already knew they were going cosmic with stuff like the Eternals and like other things, and also with them having introduced aliens and Thanos and all these like the Infinity Stones, we knew, okay, so they're gonna take like some Earth-based stuff and cut and smash it together with some celestial energies and celestial forces, so like they're not afraid to go to that length, regardless of what rights they do or don't have. But now it's like, okay, now they're gonna be like, okay, we have everything we need, now let's show the audience, let's actually give the audience the stories they deserve and the stories that we want them to see. So like they have a lot more creative control. They have so much more creative control now, so it's like they're unafraid to use it. And I think going forward, I'm interested to see how the existence of magic and the concept of magic actually impacts the stuff they have. Like even in I think Agents of Shield, like that show is the pinnacle of normalish human beings actually dealing with extra normal stuff and having to save the world from extra normal stuff and dealing with those situations. So with this, it's like, I mean, now Agents of Shield is over, so now we adding. I mean, I don't know. I mean, in the run that they had, I've yet to find out if they actually kind of like dealt with any magic or dealt with any kinds of like magical forces or like that kind of power. Like, but yeah, I don't know. But I think going forward, I think despite that, this will still, like, WandaVision will still kind of work that way to impact. And also, this leads directly into Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is also like he is also magical. He is the Sorcerer Supreme. So like, it's not it's like it's like. With him, we get that kind of confirmation that magic, sorcery, that kind of power exists. So like I think Doctor Strange being in the MCU definitely prepares people for this too. Like Doctor Strange I feel is the way that they could do two things at once. They could actually hit two birds with one stone, being like, okay, here's another magical user that is a very, very important character in the Marvel universe, and also someone that we can introduce in the meantime, but also here's another character that we can use to introduce the concept of magic whilst waiting for the right time to introduce the mistress of magic herself, the Scarlet Witch, and stuff like that. So yeah, I cannot wait to see how this would actually lead into Doctor Strange. I can't wait to see how what direction they take this in. But God, yeah, Jesus, God damn it, Marvel, God damn it, Jesus. And yeah, Wanda's okay, this is going to be a long discussion. I hope you guys are buckled in for this. This is going to be a long discussion, at least as long as my mind kind of remembers everything, as long as I actually cross out everything on this list. I've written so much down because this needs to be talked about. This needs to be discussed. So yeah, Wanda's memory. I think this was just a great episode in that sense too. Like story-wise, just us taking a trip down memory lane. Like it was a story for the audience and for Wanda. Wanda needed to revisit I mean, I don't know if she needed to, because I think it literally brought her nothing but pain, remembering everything she had lost. So Wanda was forced to revisit it by Wanda, but then by Agatha even. But then by going through that, like, we as the audience, are the only ones who benefit by actually being able to visualize everything that happened in her life and her past and her memories. So my God, Marvel are experts. Marvel are experts at ripping out heartstrings and playing them like Ultron and Pinocchio and No More Strings on Me. But yeah, Wanda's memories. So yeah, we start off with her childhood. I figured like that being like it looked like an old kind of European apartment household kind of home place thing. So I figured, okay, this must be from the very beginning, because I think if you go down memory lane for Wanda, you got to start with her childhood, because her childhood from Age of Ultron, they referenced that her childhood was not like the best time. That was like the beginning of her trauma. So it showed her mother cooking in the kitchen, and then her dad came home. So we see her parents. We actually met her parents for the first time, and yeah, we see what life was like for her growing up in Sokovia. I think in the middle of like some kind of wartime too. Like I think Agatha mentioned the Cold War, but I think that was probably just like the aesthetic that she clocked onto. But Wanda's mother looked out the window and actually saw people firing guns and stuff. So I think that was like, yeah, So I don't know what war in the MCU timeline that would have been referencing, but I think again, like Age of Ultron, Wanda and Pietro did recall how their parents were killed by a Stark by like a missile that was, produced by Stark Industries, and they were almost killed by one too. So yeah, so we see that, her and her family were learning English through sitcoms. Her father would buy, he would obtain sitcom VHS tapes, and he would resell them at some other point. He would sell them to actually make money off of them. But in the meantime, him and he would actually use that to teach him and his kids and his wife how to speak English. So those are the sitcoms that we see being parodied throughout the series are literally the sitcoms that Wanda is familiar with, and the sitcoms that she grew up with, like the Dick Van Dyke Show. There was Malcolm in the Middle, definitely. There was, I think, if I go back, I don't know why it's now not like, no, I don't want to watch Age of Ultron. Go away. I don't want to watch Age of Ultron. I've seen that 3 times. Where is it? God, now for some reason now WandaVision is no longer showing up on my screen. Let me go back and see. So, yeah, WandaVision, episode 8, previously on. Let's go. Okay, I'm just gonna skip through a little bit of it. What stuff did she have? So the cassettes. Okay, yeah, so Bewitched. I've heard that was parodied too. The Addams Family. Who's the Boss? I Love Lucy. And Malcolm in the Middle. Yeah, so these are the ones. And I think we actually saw she had a collection back in the Avengers Tower. She actually had a collection of those things. I think she actually managed to somehow these VHS tapes survived, and she actually managed to actually keep them on her, that collection. Like, this was, I think in that way, this is actually one of the few memories she has of her life as a child living with her parents in Sokovia. Like, it's one of the few good things she has left from her past, so she would definitely fight to keep this as long as it survived the explosion. And they had, like, the Dick Van Dyke Show and everything too, so yeah, so they actually use this to speak English, to actually learn to speak English, which I think is really, really cool, for, like, to show them trying to, like, learn about, like, another culture and about, like, another language too, so yeah, but damn, I gotta say, like, that explosion came in a lot quicker than I think. I was thinking, oh, they might try and drive it in hard, like, they might try and drive that wedge harder by showing it happening in slow motion, like, all of a sudden her hair starts blowing and her face is knocked aside, and then you see rubble being blown apart in the background. But no, it's just like a boom, it literally hits that, like, the house like a giant missile would. It actually hits them like a giant missile, so it's like this really hard hitting, which I think is the intention, like, oh yeah, happy times, just laughing along to the sitcom, and then boom, your life has changed forever. So yeah, that was terrifying to see. That caught me off guard. I think like those things, I think it's not really meant to be. I mean, it's not meant to be scary in like a typical horror way, but it's still like to me, but for me, it still affects me like a jump scare. Like any fast action, hard hitting moment like that. Like, even a character jumping out of a screen, or like even if it's not meant to be typically kind of scary, or like even if it's not like in like a horror movie or a horror kind of thing at all, then it still gets me like that. It still makes me jump and be like, oh, okay, that happened. But yeah, so then the included memory in that is also her and Pietro's memories of actually being trapped in their house under the bed. With the defective Stark missile. So it was defective. They didn't know it was defective. It was meant to go off, and I think the beeping definitely reminded me of how they said that, like, they were terrified the entire time. Like, they didn't know when it would go off, or if it would go off, because, like, they would think, like, like, explosions were still happening around them in other buildings and other nearby environments. So, like, so she was thinking, like, literally, like, any kind of movement in the bricks or any sudden shifting in the environment, that's it. It could go off and end them immediately. And, like, the continuous beeping, like, felt like, okay, so that's like, it's, I think missiles is like, like upon contact they're meant to hit, upon contact they're meant to actually blow up. It's not like a timer or anything like that, but the beeping, I think, was like a signifier that, oh, it's actually defective, it's not going to go off. Definitely just maybe, unless like something like unless the house caves in and that contact kind of sets it off, then nothing else is going to happen. So it can still blow up maybe, but it's just like needs a little bit more than like the actual kind of proper working missile. So that was terrifying too. But just seeing that, starting off with that childhood, showing such like a, I mean, given the world they were living in, given the time they were living in, given what was surrounding them, it likely wasn't ever 100% happy, but they were still a family trying to find positivity within each other. They were still a family who kind of, they definitely tried to find peace in the fact that they had each other, they were safe together, they were happy together, so they tried to find peace in that, and then war took that all away from them. War took it all away from them, so that kind of story is very heart-wrenching too, but damn, that is just, 2 days. 2 days they stay trapped under their bed, having, and I think they couldn't even find their parents' bodies, but like she just looked back and saw that the entire sofa had been caved under by rubble, so it's pretty self-explanatory at that point. So yeah, and I think she doesn't really need the extra trauma of actually having seen her parents' dead bodies crushed under rubble either. So she just knows. She just knows. So damn you, Marvel. And then following that, we enter her time at Hydra. Albeit brief, her time at Hydra is somewhat explored, and more than that, we see exactly what kind of experimentation took place. So we see exactly what Hydra subjected her to, which she looked kind of, she didn't look explicitly unhealthy, but we could see that she did seem kind of tired. She did seem experimented on, and Hydra were clearly kind of attempting at least to push her past her limits to get the results they wanted. So yeah, but we see that, and I think what I'll say, right, I like Agatha's reference being like, okay, so you suffered so you suffered losses at the hands of war, so you decided to volunteer yourself for experimentations at the hand of an anti-freedom terrorist organization. Like, that has always made me curious. Like, like what? Like, it's Hydra. It's literally like them not knowing about Hydra is extremely kind of unlikely, because again, Hydra is the kind of group that would be taught about in the history books, and we don't know if she got history lessons, but still, like they'd be in the news too. They would be in the news too, like how, like especially after Winter Soldier, if they were taken into Hydra's custody after the Winter Soldier, or maybe before the Winter Soldier, then it would then that would have meant that Hydra would actually just not show them the news, and so then there's a chance that they would have been filtered the news or not shown the news at all, like anything that would actually reveal Hydra's true kind of stuff to them. But then even then, surely it would be on the news still too, like even when they were kids, because that wouldn't have been too far back. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, that still seems kind of like weirdish. Like that name would still, because even then, you even as a kid, you could, I think maybe you'd still see the news and be kind of made aware that that like the Nazis were just terrible people, and they were a terrible group and stuff like that. So Hydra, like it just feels like she maybe should have known, but then Hydra, I think maybe it would just be like indoctrination and lies and manipulation, like that is pretty much their forte. So maybe they just still would have found a way, and especially they volunteered too. So it's like it would have been like Hydra would have been like, okay, we can help you save your country. Like you want to save your country, right? So save them from the other evil kind of like weapon makers and people that stole your families and your homes, and like that kind of propaganda would have been Hydra's main tool. So then and like even in Age of Ultron, like Maria literally said, like the intel she had on them said that they actually volunteered for Strucker's experiments. So and even Steve's response, like being from experience, like what kind of monster wouldn't volunteer for experiments under a German scientist, like if they were told it would protect their country, because he was given that same thing. And to be fair, for his side, what's his name? Erskine, Dr. Erskine. He was a German, but he was never a Nazi. He saw ahead of Hydra's lies, and Hydra's kind of evil, and the Nazi Party's evil. So he was never allied with them. He was actually with the Allied forces and stuff. So but Strucker was explicitly Hydra, and he was in charge of I think he was likely in charge of what the subjects heard, what they knew about the projects, and what they didn't know. So he would have made a way. He would have actually ensured that none of the subjects knew what was really going on, and that they were led to believe that they were really volunteering for experimentation in order to actually gain abilities that would allow them to protect their country. So Yeah, but the experimentation. So she walked into a room and has to touch the sample, has to touch the subject, which is the Mind Stone. Well, not the entire scepter, but the little blue thing inside the scepter, and actually kind of interact with that and stuff. But then, yeah, so like for her though, I mean, they didn't really like they said that no other subjects have really done well enough, or like no other subjects have actually survived coming into contact with the Infinity Stone. So I think like we know already that Pietro and Wanda were the only two survivors of any of the experiments with the scepter. So they're the only two survivors. But we see how the experimentation actually went in this episode too. So we actually see that like the not only did she actually interact positively with the Mind Stone, but the Mind Stone actually kind of jumped out of the scepter and then gravitated towards her, like it was actually like magnetically attracted or something. And then after initial interaction, the shell blew open and it showed her the yellow Mind Stone underneath. And even what she saw in that light, she actually saw, I think that was like a prophecy for her, maybe like she actually saw a glimpse of her future, like herself with the classic Scarlet Witch costume with the horned helmet and everything that we saw in the Halloween episode. So it's like it was like an actual superhero version of the Halloween suit we saw, like the actual classic Scarlet Witch costume. So she saw like her in that as like a silhouette, so it was like a prophecy, like a glimpse at her future now that she has those powers. And yeah, I think after that scene, Agatha actually mentioned that that the interaction with the Infinity Stone actually kind of I think confirmed or validated like what was already on the vine, like what was already on the branch. So I think she already had like latent. And I think that's actually been mentioned in the past too, that her and Pietro actually had latent abilities already, and the Mind Stone literally just ignited it. So that makes you wonder, could they have been like that? I think that basically confirms in some way that they are mutants, but just in like a different way, maybe to the comics. Like they actually had like a mutant gene in their DNA, and then interaction with a celestial object, with a form of celestial power like an Infinity Stone, literally powered them. It literally turned the ignition key and stuff. So it actually turned on the engine, and it actually it gave them the powers they had. So it gave Pietro his speed, and it gave Wanda her magic. So that's like that kind of screams mutant to me. Like again, like an MCU version of the mutants. Like they had latent abilities already, and it kind of gave them this. So yeah, I mean, I won't lie, deep down I'm still wondering how that might work, because I think even in the X-Men, I think I mean, at least in the movies, it's literally like you already have the X gene inside you, but then usually it's like like an emotional event, like an emotional event or like a traumatic event usually triggers your powers and unlocks them and makes you actually use them, like usually in very dangerous situations. But with this, it's like experimentation with otherworldly objects literally gives her powers and activates the mutant side of her. So that's interesting. That is very, very interesting. So, I mean, speaking of the mutant timeline, that would literally make Wanda and Pietro the first kind of mutants in the MCU. Like kind of like the Adam and Eve. I mean, I don't mean to bring that. I don't mean to reference it too much like that. But kind of like the Adam and Eve of mutants. Like they are the first ones, and they then Wanda goes on to use her power maybe to create more mutants. I think that is also like a pretty solid fan theory. I'm still kind of hanging on to that. At the end of all this, she literally reverses the no more mutants line and actually says, no, give me more mutants, give me more people like me, let's show the world how unique we really are, like give me more mutants, give me more people like me. But I think that would be a great way to enhance it, like we start off with two, and then one of them is literally just one of the most powerful people in existence, and ends up creating like a whole kind of race of them on Earth and everything. So that would be really cool. That is really fun. But I think that concept, I think the way this mutant thing is being done so far is really fun. I think it also goes to show just like how Marvel still works, even with what little they have. Even if they don't have all the rights, they will still try their best to do something, or at least to postpone something through like non-official kind of like execution, and trying to minimize the amounts of references they make until they have what they need, and then boom, it's all hands on deck. We have mutants, we have Fantastic Four, we have this, we have that, we have everything you could ever want. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how they go forward with this new revelation now. But that was just amazing, and one I think that scene too, like I think that the aesthetics in this episode were great too, like those kinds of scenes, like Agatha's purple, Wanda's kind of red, and mixed in with the blue and the yellow, and just all the different colours in this. The colours in this were, I mean, they were very, I think that's the thing, like, for me, they were very bright. I was expecting them to be so bright they hurt my eyes, but they really weren't. Like, they were actually well done, and at least for me, even with wearing glasses, like, they actually weren't that harmful or, like, bad to look at all. Like, it was actually done very well. I mean, for all I know, it could just be the fortune of me having my monitor calibrated to the right settings, but still, it's just, like, it actually, I think it's also kind of props to Marvel's kind of color grading with their movies and their TV shows and everything, and it's just like they still know, like, they know how to make it look good without having to hurt your eyes too. So the color grading in this was just phenomenal as per usual. So yeah, I do wonder if that means that, you know, like, that vision, I think maybe Wanda revisiting these memories under, like, a different-ish kind of light is gonna ignite more of her future. Like, she went down memory lane, but now going forward, she's actively going to kind of craft more of her future based on what she's, like, researched, maybe more like based on what she's actually revisited. So now maybe, like, her remembering seeing that Scarlet Witch kind of future in her vision of having prophesized the Mind Stone, maybe that gives her the kind of motivation to actually create, like, her own costume or to craft her own identity as the Scarlet Witch, and especially Agatha calling her the Scarlet Witch at the end too, like she combines all of that to give herself, like, a new super identity and everything. But I guess we'll have to wait and see, but it's cool. It's so damn cool nonetheless. So damn cool. And I think, yeah, the one light-hearted, or, like, the one kind of less painful, like, memory in this kind of trip, in this mind trip she had, was literally her literally seeing Vision in Avengers, like her remembering her time with the Avengers, like her even describing, like, you know, like, after having lost Pietro, she had no one else, she had nothing else, so then the Avengers took her in, and actually allowed her to actually feel safe and secure and at home somehow again. So then she joined them. She became an Avenger. Like she had powers, so she could definitely use them for some good, and that's exactly what the Avengers would encourage her to do. So she joined the Avengers. She joined the Avengers. She had like I think she had like a joint room with Pietro, and that referencing too, like her detecting Vision outside of her wall, and just inviting him in afterwards, and like, you know, like Vision being like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. I mean, I was gonna come in, but I didn't mean to, because like in Civil War we actually see that's the thing they've talked about. Like, even if you, like, it's the thing that they've talked about. Like, you know, if you're gonna come in, use the door like a normal person, knock, and then make yourself known, and then enter. Don't just, you know, just shift through her walls and, you know, just creep her out like that. But I think Wanda, she knows Vision is not a harmful being. He does not mean he's, you know, very socially awkward that way, but he does not intend any harm whatsoever. He's a very, very kind and sweet and gentle kind of, you know, technological soul. So she understands, and she just lets it slide. And then that seemed to, like, I think, had we seen something like that in Age of Ultron, because personally, right, I feel like the romance we saw between her and Vision in Civil War wasn't really much of a romance either, but it was more like, you know, romance for the sake of romance. I feel like if we had seen a scene like this in Civil War, that would have, like, for me, that would have actually fleshed their thing out a lot better, because I think that is the problem with the movies. Ultimately, that is the problem with the movies. Like, for some people, they can't give them as much content or as much screen time as they desire, because they've got a lot of characters to handle, and even for the movies, there are like more likely characters to be there are always characters that they are more likely to favor over some of them. So WandaVision has given us this. WandaVision gave us this scene. This scene, had it been in Civil War, I think their time in Civil War would have been a lot kind of easier to digest. And it's like this scene of them two just hanging out, chilling out on Wanda's bed, just watching sitcoms, watching Malcolm in the Middle, and Vision just not understanding human humor. Like, okay, so he's injured, and that makes it funny. Okay, so, you know, it's not the kind of show where he dies and there's like a funny funeral, but it's like it's that kind of comedy where, you know, people are sadistic enough to laugh at pain and all that kind of stuff. But that conversation too, like, you know, even Vision kind of encouraging Wanda to open up and talk, but then Wanda being like, you know, talking about it isn't going to make her feel better, and she's like, it's not going to make her problems go away or anything like that. And then, yeah, like that scene of them two talking, like that is also, I think, in terms of mental health too, like did this show has also kind of taken a look at Wanda's mental health in a very, very kind of explorative and kind of undeniably heart-wrenching way. All the ways in which she died, all the ways in which she tries to deny her grief and push it down further and create this kind of alternate reality where nothing but her happiness exists. And then, you have a scene like that shows how much her and Vision are connecting over her grief, and even I think the one line from Vision that really stood out to me. The one line from Vision that actually stood out to me and made me kind of actually appreciate that scene even more was him explaining the emotions to Wanda, and him kind of reassuring her that, you know, what she was feeling was okay, that grief is okay. Grief, to feel that bereavement, that kind of sadness is okay, because grief is love persevering. That line really kind of hit me, and it's like, you know, and it's also something that makes a lot of sense. Like grief, like, you know, grief shows that the person you're mourning is not just anyone. It's a person you cared about. It's a person that you loved for so long. It's a person with whom you lived somewhat of a life at least, and you created some memories with them. And she's hanging on to those memories in like a lot of different ways. Even without using her powers, she's hanging on to that grief and hanging on to those memories. Like with actually collecting like with actually keeping the tape collection to hang on to her parents, and remembering Pietro and trying to do some good in the world. Because that is what she originally signed up with Pietro for, to actually do some good without knowing what Hydra really was. So joining the Avengers, she's actually trying again to do some good, and actually with some legitimate people this time. So that is good. That is love persevering. Like those memories you remember, the times you remember. Like the more you think about that person, that grief is the love you have for them persevering. And I think that's just like it's one of the most beautiful things I think to come out of the MCU. That kind of notion that, you know, when you feel sad about someone dying, or someone having passed away in your life, like remembering them is not a bad thing. That grief is not something you should reject. It's not something that you need to reject. And if you feel that grief, you should feel it, and you should actually embrace it as maybe something positive, and use that to remember them and push them forward. And, you know, it's just like it's just such a it's just such a beautiful notion. I'm not sure if I'm gonna cry. I'm not sure if the waterworks gonna start coming in. But, you know, losing someone, or even losing something, it doesn't even have to be a person. If you lose, like, you know, some people lose pets and that destroys them. You know, losing anything in your life is like an incredibly hard kind of barrier, and a hard obstacle to overcome. So, you know, like losing anything can be hard to overcome. So, you know, like thinking negatively is hard to overcome. Thinking negatively, like hating the world and hating the people and hating the event, hating death itself for that happening is also a very natural thing. But then the grief that you feel, like, you know, like the grief is literally you wishing they were still here, but also like more of like a mixture of you wishing they were still here, but also remembering the times that they were here, remembering the memories, remembering the times you shared with them, remembering, you know, what was. And then I think where the more kind of tragic stuff comes in is where you start to imagine what could have been and what you lost. But then that's normal too. And I think that scene is Vision literally just telling her, like, you know, grief, it's okay, sadness, it's okay. Like, you know, like, don't be sad because they're gone. Be happy because they were here. Be happy because you were together. You had them to begin with, and life sucks, and people get taken away from you. Things get taken away from you. And you lose sometimes, but, you know, it's all a part of life. Life, you know, life would literally not be the same if death wasn't a thing. Death is what gives life meaning. That's an age-old saying. That is an age-old saying. Like, you know, death is what gives life meaning. But yeah, but Wanda, I mean, you know, and I think this episode alone just shows just how much Wanda has lost in such a short space of time. Like, she's literally not even hitting her 30s yet, and she's already lost so much at the hands of so many different evils. And, you know, grief is something that, you know, again, I think you know, like, you see, like, I think, not to blame people on social media, but you do still kind of, like, you know, catch on to posts saying, like, you know, oh, they gave her a Disney Plus show, but Wanda really needed therapy. But she really does, like she needs therapy, but she needs to talk about what she's lost, but she also needs that kind of reassurance. I feel that, you know, what she's feeling is okay. Like, what she's feeling, you know, is not like an excuse for her to use her powers and create like a fake reality where she has everyone and everything back, and she doesn't need to feel sad anymore. But she needs to know that, you know, feeling sad is okay, and that, you know, she doesn't have to keep pushing everyone away, or even create, or even bringing people back to life. Like, moving on is like an essential part of life, and you move on when you're ready. No one can or should push you to move on in any, like at any time or during any kind of thing. Like, you know, you move on once you feel like you're ready to actually move on and carry on in their name. but Wanda is like she refuses to move on, and that's doing more harm to her as well. Like it's like her powers are like actually helping her more than her powers. Instead of helping her grieve her, but like she's using her powers to actually hold on to that notion that everything's fine and that she doesn't have to let go, and that if she doesn't let go, then she doesn't have to admit that they're gone or anything like that. So that is like just unhealthy all around. But yeah, that Avengers scene I think is easily one of the more light-hearted versions, like easily one of the more light-hearted kind of memories she has, and I think also it goes to flesh out Wanda and Vision's relationship so much more. Like like you very rarely see any scenes, even in the movies, of the other Avengers actually trying to talk to her or connect with her. Like I think the one exception may well be Steve, like Steve actually reassuring her that she's not the villain after what happened in Lagos and Civil War. But I think with this one, it actually shows why she fell in love with Vision in the first place. That he was more than just a robot. He was more than just an android. For her, he was a person that he was a person, but he was also a person that bothered. He was a person that actually cared and even bothered to care about her and actually tried to give her some words and stuff. And it kind of made her feel that okay, maybe he's not just like a UI or like an AI or like something that Ultron created to try and evolve. Like he actually is like a mind of his own. So jeez, my heart hurts. My heart actually hurts just exploring that scene. But god damn it. And you think we'd be veering away from any emotional kind of pain or emotional torment after that memory and after talking that particular point, but no, we're moving into Sword, and the revelation of Sword, for one thing, it shows that Tyler Hayward is a downright dick. He is a downright douchewad, but on the other hand, it shows just how powerful Wanda really fucking is. Like, that revelation, so she did not break in. Tyler is a liar. Tyler Hayward is a grade A liar. He's a liar and a manipulator and just a thief of major proportions. He likely doctored that. I mean, chances are he never even asked for HQ or got permission from HQ to release that footage. Chances are he actually figured that he could use that footage of Wanda going into thing, and I think that was edited too. That was cut and edited and distorted for his own purposes. Like, he doctored that footage to show off as if it was Wanda breaking in and stealing her body, so stealing Vision's body. But no, Wanda actually walked in, went straight to reception. Someone who breaks into a government building is not going to bother going to the reception to ask where they are. They're just going to storm their way through, use whatever skills they have at hand, and storm their way through and get what they want and then get up. Like, no one breaking in is going to bother making themselves known at reception and asking for actual permission. But no, Wanda actually went to the reception and asked to see Vision's body. And I think she said she knows that Sword would be the one. I mean, on the one hand, it makes sense because I think Shield is gone, at least from the movies. So I think it makes sense that she would maybe actually look for any other agencies or government kind of properties that would actually look to actually take Vision's body after. I think that's also really depressing to think about. Like, like the fact that for the most part, like everyone who was actually snapped back 5 years later would have actually been in the same place that they snapped away from, minus people on planes. Like I think the Russos actually confirmed that anyone who was like on a boat or in the air, like on a plane or something like Hulk would have brought them back in a safer way. So everyone who was already on land in a safe place would be brought back there and then. But then other people wouldn't just materialize in the air and then fall to their deaths. No, they would actually be brought back in a safe place. But with Wanda, we saw she literally died in the Wakandan forest over Vision's body. So I think that is also like a terrifying thing to see. Like she snaps away, and then 5 minutes later, 5 years for her, 25 minutes later, she blips back into the forest, only to find that Vision's body is gone, and she's surrounded by. I think she would be surrounded by who? Like, she'd be surrounded by T'Challa and Bucky and Sam, and stuff like that, and Groot too. Groot, like they would all have rematerialized. They would all have rematerialized in Wakanda, so they'd just be lost as to what the hell's going on. And then she would immediately be called away. She would immediately be called away to actually fight an endgame, to go back to New York with the others through the portals and everything. But then I think she would still clock the fact that where's Vision? Okay, we need to defeat Thanos first. But after that, she actually decides to actually go back and check on what's happened to Vision. That's still kind of confuses me, because like, like Vision's body would have been in Wakanda, and even if the remaining Wakandans did collect it, they still would have taken it. But then, how like how would Sword have gotten into it? Because then, like chances are they would need to go into Wakanda and then ask for the body back. Because I mean, because it's not. I mean, technically speaking, if you're gonna speak origin-wise, then technically Vision does belong to them, because he's made of vibranium. Vision is made of vibranium, so technically the Wakandans have that kind of material authority, but then the legal authority, like the actual creation authority, maybe. Like, yeah, I'm honestly curious as to what argument Sword would make to try and regain any kind of authority or like, ownership over Vision's body. Like, what argument they would make. It's like, like Vision again. Even the way Tyler Hayward even the way Hayward describes him, like, he wanted to actually bring back like Sword took ownership over the most powerful sentient weapon in existence. That line alone shows that he does not see Vision as a person or even as like a formerly living being. He literally sees him as like an insanely cool and powerful piece of technology. So he is a hypocrite. He is a hypocrite of the highest orders, and I hate his guts. But yeah, I'm curious to know what kind of argument he would have, because I think they would know that Wakanda is an incredibly defensive place, but also the fact that like Vision is an incredibly special piece, like a special piece. Like even if you were going to talk about him like that, he would be an incredibly special piece of technology. So like, I think Hayward himself would want to lead that kind of trade of like, okay, you give us Vision, and that'll be the end of it. But I'm curious to know what kind of argument they made, because I think Okoye, would she? I don't know if she would, like, if she would bother to keep him, because again, it's like, I don't know, because I think it would kind of depend on what kind of argument Hayward made. It would I feel like it would depend on what kind of argument Hayward made, and like how he would describe how he would describe the trade. But then Vision being made of vibranium, I think it's like, it's I'd like to think that Okoye and her people would actually still fight to maybe maintain some sense of ownership over him, because he's vibranium. But I don't know. But yeah, that whole kind of thing asks me like how would Sword have actually gotten their hands on him, and what argument would they have made? But yeah, and then of course, Wanda again, yeah, just her coming back, not seeing Vision's body anywhere, and then immediately being called away to the Battle of Earth, and then coming back and actually beginning her own journey of actually tracking down Vision. And there was just no reference of that towards Endgame. Like in Endgame, the only Vision reference we get is the very like the 2-minute clip between Hawkeye and Wanda being like, like him being like, oh, I wish there was a way we could tell Natasha that we won, we did it, we won, and then Wanda being like, oh, she knows, and they both do. So like on Clint's side it's Natasha, but then on Wanda's side it's actually Vision. Vision knows too. But then yeah, it's like, she is aware. Like I think deep, if you look back at that, maybe I don't know, you might see like she's deep down aware of the fact that Vision is gone. She needs to find him, and yet what she wanted to do with Vision was even like unarguably less harmful than what Sword was trying to do. It was unarguably less harmful than what Sword was trying to do. She wanted to throw a funeral. That's it. She wanted a funeral. She wanted, right. I think that was I think her throwing a funeral for Vision might be the one time in her life that she's actually been able to grieve. That would have been the one point in her entire life that she's actually ever been able to grieve. Like her throwing a funeral for Vision, that would mean that she gets to say goodbye. That would mean she gets to feel that sadness. She gets to acknowledge it, and acknowledge it. Like do it in the way that Vision even advised her early on to in the Avengers movie. Like being like, like grief is love, perseverance. Actually, her giving a speech and talking about Vision and saying goodbye to him. That is essentially what the funeral would have been. So, like she was denied that when Sword took Vision's body and dismantled him, dissected him like he was just like a freaking early 2000s PC or something. But that would have been the one chance she got to actually grieve in a normal human way, and Sword stole that from her. Sword stole that on the basis of them having some kind of legal, ethical right to dissect a robot's body. Like, Did I mention I hate Haywood? Because I really hate Haywood. I really do not like his character at all. I think to start off with, he seemed like a fairly diplomatic guy and fairly kind of supportive of Monica, and then as time went on, he was just like, oh, I hate Wanda because she's using her powers and it makes me feel inferior, so wah. Just, yeah, that just, And yeah, and like I think that scene too, like her show, like him making her see as his team dissected Vision, like that scene too, like them using those advanced razor cutters, like they have technology now that can cut through vibranium. I don't know how, but they now have razors and blades that can somehow cut through vibranium, and they were dismantling his skin and like layers upon layers of vibranium with the wires and stuff like that. It was just like even hearing the sounds, it just kind of irked to me, like they're literally dissecting him. And then yeah, okay. One thing I'll say, right, this show has given us so many different disturbing versions of Vision. We've had to see dead Vision. We've had to see dead Vision. We've had to see baby Vision. We've had to see, and now we have to see headless Vision, or at least like not even headless, but like just the head on one table, and them just kind of having it on one table, trying to cut open his skull and see what's inside. Like it's just. This show is already horror material, and apparently Doctor Strange 2 is meant to be worse, so I have no idea what they've got in store on that front, but, Haywood making her see as they dissect him, and even the way that he dehumanizes Vision. I mean, sure, Vision technically is, like really isn't even human, but even the way he talks about Vision, talking about him as if he's nothing but hunks of metal and wires and robotics and everything, just... Yeah, and then even talking about how he wants to try and bring Vision back online, like he wants to try and do that. So literally, his mission is about nothing but regaining control over Vision. He wants to regain control of Vision. I think Wanda resurrecting Vision, or at least Wanda creating her own Vision and powering him up, makes him jealous because because even that post credit scene is they've tried everything. They've tried everything apart from Wanda's magic, and nothing has worked. So I think deep down he has that kind of hint of jealousy that he has that kind of hint of jealousy that as a mere human he does not have the power to bring back a dead machine, but Wanda can do it all willy nilly and everything's all well and done. So it's horrible. And yeah, she didn't do it. I think that scene was also emotionally that scene was emotionally heart-wrenching too. Like she flies down. She doesn't attack any of them. She goes up to Vision's head, to hit his head where the Mind Stone used to be, and she tries to use her powers, and you can see the red glow, and she's like, I can't feel anything. And that is a direct reference to Infinity War. Of like both of them telling each other, I just feel you. She just feels him, his life essence in the Infinity Stone, and he just feels her magic. And he even when she's using her powers to kill him, he doesn't feel pain. He doesn't feel death. He doesn't feel like anything bad. He just feels her. He feels her trying to save him by killing him. As like messed up as that is, he just feels her. He feels her love in trying to save him. So that is like that one line as well, like that repeated line, like I can't feel you, you're gone, Vision, you're gone, I can't feel you anymore, you're dead. So that just like Elizabeth Olsen deserves some kind of award, be it an Emmy. I mean, I feel like an Oscar might be a push, but like an Emmy, she deserves an Emmy. Elizabeth Olsen and Kathryn Hahn, but Elizabeth Olsen too, mainly. She deserves an Emmy for like her performances in this episode alone. But like throughout the entire show, like her transitioning from grief-stricken to kind of like trying to be happy and maintaining like some sense of fake happiness, and then her just Elizabeth Olsen, she has taken this role. Like I really can't imagine at this point anyone else playing the Scarlet Witch. I really can't imagine. Like I mean, you could put any other face over it. I feel, but like Elizabeth Olsen, she's really, from the moment she was cast, she has actually done her absolute best to try and portray Wanda as who she really is. Not just as a superhero, but as like an actual human being who still has emotions under all of these powers and under all of these hexbolts. Like she still has emotions, and the MCU up until now has refused to let her actually process her emotions and actually feel like a normal human being for once. So now WandaVision is giving her that chance, and Elizabeth has taken it, and she has run. She's sprinting. She's not running anymore. She is sprinting. She's sprinting to that finish line with her powers in hand, and she deserves all the awards. She deserves all the awards for this, and that scene alone, just like good God, good Christ, good heaven. It's just incredible stuff. It is incredible stuff. Incroyable. So, I mean, that revelation, like, she didn't even take it. Like, she couldn't feel Vision anymore. So she couldn't feel Vision anymore, and I think she was too grief stricken to immediately think about what she would do with Vision's body, but she couldn't feel him anymore. And I think that was and I think for one thing, like, Hayward literally likely wouldn't let her take it out. Like as much as he enjoys kind of villainizing Wanda and antagonizing her, he still kind of wouldn't let her take any ethical sword property out of their facility. So he just kind of gave her that one. I think she knew deep down. She also didn't want to fight a fight. She was not there to fight. She was really not there to fight. Even if she was prepared to, she was not there to fight. She just wanted to let go. She just wanted to say goodbye. So she knew that was the briefest of moments she would get, and she did. That was her way of saying goodbye. I can't feel you. So, that's when she walks out, and she doesn't take the body with her. She doesn't take the body with her so that she can put him back together and feel him again. She doesn't steal him. She doesn't do anything that. She doesn't do anything that. Or at least, she doesn't do half the stuff. She doesn't do half the stuff that Hayward has actually accused her of doing. But yeah, and I think that also kind of leads into one of the more kind of accurate kind of power kind of present representation, like one of the more accurate representations of power that Wanda actually has. So yeah, that kind of raises questions. Like, for one thing, it's like, he lied to the entire team. I mean, at least he at least lied to the trio. He lied to Darcy, to Jimmy, and to Monica as well. He lied to them, saying that the Vision's body was stolen. But I think he has his own inner circle of people that trust him and are loyal to him, and they will keep his secrets to the grave. So they know deep down that that Vision is still with Sword, and that he's always been with Sword. So so that has been Hayward's plan all along. To actually, and even that post credit shows. That post credit was so much more eventful than the last one. I think that last one wasn't even mentioned. Like that last one, like I think that'll be in the next episode. We see like what happened to Pietro and Monica. But yeah, that last one wasn't even mentioned. But this one actually showed us. So like they actually managed to put him back together. Even after dissecting him, they actually managed to put him back together piece for piece and made him look somewhat good as new. But they changed the color. He actually looks he's some kind of like white Vision now. I think if I actually go forward to that post credit scene, yeah, he's like some kind of like white Vision. He's like a. I think I'm almost afraid to say Silver Age because I don't know if this is what Silver Age counts as. But then he's got like. He does. I don't think he has like an Infinity Stone, but he has something. He still has something shiny and gemmy in his forehead. But he has that. I don't know if it's just the lighting. It could be like the lighting could definitely help. But he looks like a grayish kind of white Vision now. I don't know if that means that his motivations have changed somewhat. But he looks very, very different. And his eyes, they've opened. His eyes have like a white in them. So he looks very, very different in that sense too. But yeah, they managed to piece him together, and even Hayward's line in that scene, that so they put him back together, and they tried every power source they know of under the sun, but the one thing they haven't tried, so like the drone, they actually got the drone back. And the drone is soaked from head to toe in Wanda's power, in Wanda's kind of red hex energy. So they drain that power and pump it into this new Vision. And that works, and I think that definitely works. I think so. Then that makes me wonder. Then, as I think it doesn't look like a stone, but it looks like a piece of technology of some kind. And I think, like I kind of wonder if they kind of knew or felt like maybe Vision was like 90% powered by the Mind Stone back when he was still alive. So maybe now. What Wanda's powers come from the Mind Stone, or at least they were ignited from the Mind Stone, so that energy signature will be somewhat similar. So then if they take Wanda's power and pump it back into Vision, then it will be similar enough for him to work. But maybe this time he works differently. Maybe this time he actually works differently, and he isn't really the same Vision more. Like, I mean, I don't know if they're going to turn him evil, if he's going to be like an evil Vision. Like, because they have not brought him back with the intention of making him like an actual, like a good guy, clearly. Like, I I think Hayward's plan might be to use Vision to fight Wanda. His plan might be to bring Vision back exclusively as a sentient, obedient weapon. His plan is to bring him back as a sentient weapon that's fully obedient to him, and it will do whatever he asks, whatever he says, and then he might use that to actually fight Wanda and to actually take her down, and actually using a weapon to take down Westview as well. Because Monica even said he is willing to burn down Westview to get what he wants. So that makes me wonder, like, is he really willing to actually take down Westview just to actually to regain control over it and to actually take down Monica, to take down Wanda? Because with his aversion and with his kind of hatred towards powered beings, I would not be surprised if he's willing to kill Wanda and like make it look like she gave him no other choice and like make it look like he was pushed to his limits or something. So I don't know if he's willing to do that and then actually try and showcase Vision as some kind of obedient protector or something, but I don't know. But that post-credit scene was just something else. That was really, really something else. And I think he already seems kind of daunting. He already seems like he's not our Vision. He's not the Vision we know and remember. He's a very, very different Vision. He's Hayward's Vision this time. He's Hayward's Vision, and they've kind of found a way to power him up, and now he's ready to be reprogrammed with all of their kind of loyalties and obediences and stuff. So yeah, I have no idea. And yeah, just when you think the emotion might be over, just when you think the emotion might have actually gone away, that's when if I rewind, she goes to Westview for a very specific reason. And it's not just like some random suburb. It's a very, very particular suburb, and it's not just so that she can go sightseeing or touristing. It's because she and Vision own a property. Vision, I think Vision might have been the one that done this. I can't see her actually kind of doing this without being too emotional. But I can see this being some kind of Valentine's or anniversary kind of gift that he would get for her, like a gift he would get for her in general. Like, oh, like, you know, like, because even like they have a property. They own a property in Westview, New Jersey. 2800 Sherwood Drive, Grantee, Wanda Maximoff, and the Vision. I mean, I won't lie, that kind of makes me laugh. They actually literally just put down the Vision, and you know, like it's just like, you know, he's still kind of, you know, he is existent enough for them to actually grant him as like the actual legal owner of like a property, and he can still like actually, you know, like they can still do that. But it's kind of funny, I won't lie. But again, that humor is, for me personally, that humor is overridden by the emotional anguish provided by the fact that, you know, this exists, this property need exists. Like, you know, that's why she came to Westview, that's why she wanted Vision. You know, and like the house has like a little heart, like a red heart with a to grow old in signed V. There's a V in the corner, so that's a message from Vision. That's a message from Vision himself. Like, you know, he brought a property for the both of them to live a life to grow old in. So that kind of makes me wonder, right? Like her creating the kids would have still happened because Wanda and Vision literally can't have kids together. So her creating kids, like, you know, like had none of this happened, had she been able to actually still live a life with Vision, to live a future with Vision, to actually, you know, do what she did with Vision, then that technically means that, you know, they still would have had that. They still would have had Billy and Tommy. Like Billy and Tommy likely maybe could have gained the same-ish kind of powers, but she likely would have actually still. I mean, either that or they would have adopted. But I think I can, like, for accuracy's sake, for accuracy's sake, I can still kind of imagine them actually, like her actually creating kids together, like creating kids with them and still having that kind of life, and then, you know, they'd be visited eventually by, you know, Tony and, I mean, probably not Tony, but Steve maybe, and, you know, the other kind of Avengers and stuff. So that would have happened. But this, she came to Westview because they owned the property, and it wasn't even just any property. It wasn't just any property. Like, she literally walked onto the property as she was holding the deed, and the property she was walking on, like a house had been demolished or taken down or something, but the foundations were still there. The foundation was still there to build a house, somewhat. So she literally drove to Westview, and she literally walked onto the property that she and Vision would have owned if he had still been alive, and if she still had everything he wanted, she wanted. So, you know, like, I don't like these feelings. I don't like these feelings that it's giving me. I don't like them one bit. So, yeah, and then the power display from this scene onwards, is remarkable. She literally creates a house from her own powers. And I think, that ties back into what Darcy was saying, like, not 4 or 5 episodes ago, like her saying, like, if those bricks aren't actually real, like, if those bricks and that cement and all those materials are stuff that she's created and she's holding together, then that is an insane level of power she's actually harboring. So all the other houses already exist, or like the only house that wasn't there that she created is her house. That's her house. That's the one that she created. But all the other houses, the only way in which she's manipulating them is by changing the time period from like 50s to 60s to 70s. But everything else she's creating, and even more than that, she created Vision. She never stole his body. That body, she no longer felt anything from it, so she left that with S.W.O.R.D. She created Vision from her own powers. I never want to hear anyone say that Wanda Maximoff isn't powerful. I never want to see anyone deny that Wanda Maximoff is the most powerful Avenger. No other Avenger could ever. All right, she has the power, and the Disney Plus series to prove it. Okay, she literally created Vision. Not only that, right? She created a Vision strong enough to replicate the same vibranium energy signatures and the same decaying vibranium signatures that Hayward was tracking. Hayward caught on to eventually, like, after going to Westview to investigate Monica's disappearance into the Hex. He then he went there and he caught on to like a vibranium decay signature that was coming from inside the Hex, and he was tracking that in secret. And he was likely investigating that all the entire time, knowing that he had the real Vision in his custody, and that he had a team in secret putting him back together. He knew he had the real Vision, but he was still able to track like a vibranium signature coming from inside the Hex. She was strong enough to not only create like a Vision, but also one that still reeked of vibranium. She was still strong enough to actually create one that still matched the decaying vibranium. So I think there's a chance. I think whether or not it was I think why it was decaying. I think there could be different factors for that. Either it was the fact that she was still remembering how he died, and the fact that he died, like, as evidenced by the episode where she literally saw dead Vision and had to actually look away to refocus, like she was actually remembering that, so it was actually replicating decayed vibranium too. Or maybe because the power was still the power was too much, but it was also enough for her to start kind of straining it even a little bit, and so because of that, it wasn't really strong enough to replicate living vibranium. But it was that. But I think it's also more to do with the fact that she literally, she lost her focus for even like a few seconds, and she ended up actually having to envision dead Vision. So then that kind of decay in the vibranium came through, and then that's what she was replicating. But yeah, she's strong enough to create a Vision. She is strong enough to create a Vision, and one that still matches the energy signature of vibranium, and still gets picked up on S.W.O.R.D's radar as decaying vibranium. So Wanda Maximoff, people, the Scarlet freaking Witch. But yeah, damn, that is insanity. That is absolute insanity. And yeah, Agatha, like, that comes to the end of the episode, and it's Agatha. She actually reveals her true form. Agatha's costume looks amazing, by the way. Agatha's costume, her hair. That's Kathryn Hahn actually revealing herself as Agatha, as Agatha Harkness, the magnificent or bewitching or whatever she is. She's Agatha Harkness. Her new getup looks amazing. And I think her speech at the end too. Her speech at the end being like, you're a monster for doing this. You're a monster for creating this reality. For using your powers to try and live this fake happy life without knowing what it really does or what it really is. And her line too. So she's like, this fake reality, like, this is chaos magic. I think the name rings a bell. I won't lie, that name, I think, as with most kind of comic terms go, like, the name definitely rings a bell, but I'm not too familiar with what that actually means. But she said this is chaos magic, and that makes you the Scarlet Witch. She officially said it. They have officially dubbed Wanda as the Scarlet Witch. They've officially dubbed her as the Scarlet Witch, and yeah, I mean, it's there. She uses magic, and she's red, so the Scarlet Witch is literally the most kind of appropriate kind of name. But like Agatha officially naming her the Scarlet Witch kind of hits different. It hits more officially. It hits like in like one witch naming another. One witch literally naming another that actually kind of hits different. So yeah, so she's officially the Scarlet Witch, and now. So now I think going forward, now I'm all the more curious. I'm all the more curious to know what kind of character versus character battles are coming. I think I think what might happen is like Monica's gonna show up at the like in the next episode, and we're gonna have Monica and Wanda versus Agatha, and then what I'm equally intrigued to see WandaVision versus Sword Vision, because I think Sword Vision is going to show up. He's like Sword Vision is going to find a way through the hex, and he's going to be tasked with actually taking down Wanda, or taking down Westview and taking out Wanda along with it. So then she's going to call in her own vision with his own powers, and it's going to be fake vision versus real vision. So like WandaVision versus Sword Vision. That fight, I think that's going to be cool to see. But again, like Monica and Wanda teaming up, like Monica coming by, like saving Wanda in the nick of time and revealing that she has powers, and then Monica and Wanda teaming up to take on Agatha and stuff. That's just going to... This finale is going to blow everything else out of the water. This finale is going to blow everything else out of the water, and I personally cannot wait to actually see that unfold. So... We've got a storm coming. A great big storm is coming, and it's gonna do some damage. It's gonna do some damage. Oh boy, and yeah, that is all I've got. I think I've been recording for like almost 2.5 hours. Almost 2.5 hours I've been recording, so that is a lot. I think that is everything I can actually think of that needed to be discussed. I think if I've missed any points, or if there are any points you guys want to share, as always, please do interact with the comments and let your thoughts run free down there. But damn, this episode is some of the... I think we easily say that oh, this is the best MCU content we've ever gotten, but I think what it shows is that Marvel, like Disney and Marvel, like they evolve with their content. They literally, like, especially with their MCU content, they evolve. They show us more stuff. They show us more things. They show us greater things, and I think the difference there is that with Marvel, Disney actually has content to rely on. Like Disney has canon comic book material that they can rely on to actually to produce their series and their movies. So there's literally no shortage of stories or character arcs or details that they can actually use. Like they can use whatever they want, however they want, but for the most part they will try and remain comic accurate while doing their own spin on different stories. So it's just amazing. It's amazing to see. So I can't wait to see what the next episode holds for us. This was just insane. My brain is hot. I need to take a break before I start editing this, and hopefully I can actually get it out by today. But yeah, that was Marvel. That was Marvel's WandaVision. Season 1, Episode 8. So thank you guys, as always. Thank you so much for being here and for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, then salt and burn that like button. Comment on what you thought of the episode and what your thoughts are, what your predictions are for the finale next week, and what you want to see and what you think might happen and how you think it might affect things going forward into Doctor Strange 2, and what your favourite moments were from this one. Once again, if you guys want to catch the full-length unedited version of my reaction to this episode, that one will be over on Patreon, so you can go see that over there. And yeah, that is it. So I will see you guys next time.